Welcome to the Week of Action. It's presented by EIT Climate Kick and our global community. We're so happy that you're joining us from around the world to celebrate climate action and the people who are taking climate action. My name is Bjarke Korshøj, and I'm the Climathon lead at EIT Climate Kick. Climathon is one of the strategic programs that you'll get to know much better throughout the coming week. With me in the studio, I have my colleague, Christian Daube, who represents the program Climate Accelerator. And Christian, how are you feeling?
I'm good. Thank you, Bjarke. Buenos dias, bom dia, guten morgen, and good morning to everyone out there. Thanks for joining us from all over the world. And I think the Climate Week of Action will be very interesting. We will be celebrating climate innovations. We will be understanding over the week on how entrepreneurs are solving climate challenges to impact our world. We'll be listening into our partners who will talk about how they enable and how they support to create innovations, to launch them to market, and to scale them. I think that's very important. I'm very excited, Bjarke. And you?
I'm very excited, and this is exactly why we put together the Week of Action. It's to show the people out there who are actually doing something about the climate challenges that we're facing, not just waiting for it to happen. And each day of the Week of Action, we're going to focus on a specific climate challenge on a social media. Today it's going to be mobility. So if you know of or are part of any great mobility projects, maybe you think that your city or region should do more about tackling some of your mobility challenges, then please do share with us under the hashtag Destination 1.5, where point is spelled out. So I'm just going to repeat it so you remember it. It's Destination 1.5, and point is spelled out. We got a very exciting day in store for you. But before we go through the agenda, we have a short message from our CEO of Climate Kick, Kirsten Dunlop.
Hello, my name is Kirsten Dunlop and I'm the CEO of EIT Climate Kick. Our Week of Action celebrates the climate actions taken by citizens, by youth, entrepreneurs and change makers that are united through our education, our entrepreneurship and our acceleration programs. Tune in live to learn more about the climate challenges we're facing and the transformative solutions that are changing the world.
So as you just heard, this is very much about showing what we and the strategic program, together with our many partners and community, are doing. So we have really planned a very exciting day and agenda. And Christian, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about what is it that we can expect? What is it that is coming up today?
Sure. So right now we'll be listening into the Climathons happening in various cities all over the world, where they engage their citizens to create ideas to specific challenges. So we'll be listening to the partners and some of the citizens as well. Then at 12 p.m. Central European time, we'll be listening into a very interesting entrepreneur, Juan from Celeros Hyperloop, who's got his journey to tell and who's going to talk about the future as well. So at 1 p.m. Central European time zone, we'll be listening into our partners of our climate accelerators and ask them how they are boosting the climate entrepreneurship in their regions of Southern and Eastern Europe, for example. Stay tuned. At 2 p.m. we'll be having an interesting workshop on talking climate with Dr. Diane Born. And then later on in the afternoon, I think at 5 p.m. we'll be listening into one of our alumni from our Journey education program, which will tell about their story and what they did in the past and what they're planning to do in the future. Stay tuned, listen to us, and join us.
It sounds very exciting. I, for one, am going to listen to this Hyperloop conversation that you're going to having. I could definitely use that. So, Christian, you'll be back at 12 p.m., and that's Central European time. And you'll be on a different YouTube channel. So you'll be on the YouTube channel Climate Accelerator and Climate Innovators.
Yeah.
So Christian, looking forward to seeing you again.
Thanks. Have a good luck and a good day, Bjarke.
Thank you. So we also just opened the chat, so you can actually post any questions, comments to me or to the people that we're bringing on the show, so the people that we're going to interview. You can also share if you have great ideas on how your city, your region could become carbon neutral. This is actually also the starting point for the Climathon. Since 2015, we've been bringing cities and citizens together to work on their local climate challenges and come up with ideas for how to solve it. Right now, today, in 2021, we have 195 cities and the movement is growing. The Climathon is very much like a hackathon, although it's more focused on really understanding the problem and then coming up with ideas. And we have a short video prepared for you just to show you the Climathon journey.
The clock is ticking, but the targets are clear. In order to avoid a worst-case climate scenario, we must reach destination 1.5 degrees before the end of this decade. The stakes are high, but the chances for change are even higher. These unprecedented times call for new heroes like you. They call for bold, swift action. They call for transformative ideas. They call for cities and citizens banding together for a greater purpose, to tackle climate change from the ground up. Climathon is a global community of changemakers from all cultures and all countries taking an active role in their local ecosystems to help achieve a healthy planet for all. Join us on a week-long Climathon journey of co-creation, idea generation, and citizen engagement. This is your opportunity to take action, to build impact-driven projects, to shape the future of your city. The express lane to carbon neutrality starts here, and we need all hands on deck. We need you. Are you up for the challenge? Find your Climathon and shape the future of your city.
So on our website, climathon.climatekick.org, you can actually read more about all the Climathons that are taking place this year. You can also read about past Climathons. You can find the ideas from the teams of previous Climathons. So hopefully you can get inspired by some of the ideas. You can also read the stories about our community, so about the participants, what did they experience. You can read about the local organizers, what does it actually take to organize a Climathon. And speaking of local organizers and participants, then this week is all about showing the participants and local organizers of the Climathon. So showing the people who are actually part of this, making the Climathon a global movement, and hopefully also through the conversations with them, we will inspire you to follow in their footsteps so you can be the change locally. And speaking of the local organizers, I want to welcome my first guest all the way from the Philippines. That is Carla from Climathon Pasig. Carla?
Yes, hi.
Hey, Carla.
Hi there, Bjarke.
Good to
Good
see
morning
you.
to
Good to
you.
see you. Carla, how are you doing?
We're doing great, kicking off the Climathon Week of Action today. We started earlier today, which was at 10 a.m. Philippine time. So we had a lot of different speakers, and also we started showcasing some of the ideas of the different teams today.
Amazing. It's so great to hear. And I know you actually also started even earlier. You already had some warm-up events in September where you were bringing people together. And even before that, you also brought some of the other organizations in the Philippines who wanted to organize Climathon together to grow the movement there, right?
Yes, that's right. So in September 10, we started our Climathon, which was really a capability building workshops for the different participants for 5 weeks. So it was a pre-event to prepare them for the week of action. And then we've also coordinated with other aspiring local organizers to really grow the Climathon movement in the Philippines.
It's so great. It's again, this is just one of the reasons why the Climathon is such a successful movement. It's people like you that are helping us grow the movement. I just want to, before diving into your Climathon and what's going to happen throughout this week, just want to know a little bit more also about yourself. Like, what made you go into to climate action and host these Climathons?
Yes. I think it just really started a few years ago, like maybe around 4 or 5 years ago, when I became more aware of what was happening, what I was doing to the planet. And there was a certain sense of urgency in me. And so I started learning and researching about it. And because of my exposure to hackathons, I started thinking of there must be a way to come up with, solutions to address, the climate challenges, in my country. And there is Climathon. So it was a perfect, synchronization of things about innovation and collaboration in taking climate action.
And you've definitely been one of the very active local organizers that we've had. So we're so happy to have you on board and see how you are really so supportive of the global program and other organizers. So you already said it, you've organized a few times before. What are some of the best memories you have of the Climathons in the past that you maybe hope to replicate this year?
I think the most fascinating experiences was really doing it from the grassroots. We had no idea how we were going to run this event. It was the first time in the country, but I knew I had to do it. So it's that experience of being gritty, and just really doing whatever it takes to really make sure that people are aware of the different climate issues and what we can do together. So that's number one. Second is really being able to pivot to doing things online because of the pandemic. So last year, we were one of the first ones who made a decision to do the Climathon 100% online because we had to prepare a lot. So being able to be agile as a team, for my team and my co-organizer, Future Proof, and also our volunteers who have helped us really pivot, from on-premise Climathon to 100% online. So those are like amazing learnings for us. And even this year, we're learning a lot and we're excited for 2022 already.
That sounds amazing. And like you said, sometimes it takes a little bit extra to organize a Climathon, like you say, like whatever it takes. do you have a good example of what that could be in your case?
Yes. So I run a small startup and we don't have a huge funding to run these events. And so we didn't know how we were going to put up a concept to possible partners and sponsors to help us fund, the implementation of the programs that will be winning or the teams that will be winning. So I think one of the really amazing things to look at here is that um, as an organizer, there are so many different ways for us to really run these climathons, in our cities. We shouldn't be limited to what we lack, but we should be focused on what we actually have. And you'll be amazed how people can collaborate and really come together with one goal, especially when it comes to climate change.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And just in terms of, I think you mentioned it before, but just to kind of bring it up again, how did you find the Climathon movement and what do you think you gained from being part of the Climathon rather than running the events with your startup in Philippines?
Yes. Well, I learned about Climathon through a good friend of mine who used to work for Climate Kick. So shout out to Jax. And then she introduced me to Climathon, and then she said, "Do you want to bring it to the Philippines?" And I said, "Let's do it." So I went ahead and went and did that in 2019. And I think like for the most part, the difference between all the other events that I do or programs I do with my startup is this has a bigger impact and there's a bigger community that I can count on. So I really thrive and I really appreciate, the support of the global Climathon community, and just to also learn from each other. And I think that us really realizing that we're not doing this alone makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's so true, and I've also just seen how you've gone right from joining the Climathon and now actually being one of the really experienced organizers that can help others. So that could be some of the people that are actually out there watching us right now, and I just want to let them know that if they have any questions, we'll actually have some time towards the end for a few questions from the chat. So please do
Yes.
add the questions while I'm speaking to Carla. And Carla, just in terms of this year, so like you said, I think there's still some COVID restrictions in the Philippines that makes
Yes.
it
Yeah.
somewhat difficult to run an in-person event there. But how is
Yeah.
kind of the setup for your Climathon this year, and maybe also what are some of the challenges that you're going to work on?
Yeah. So we're doing it 100% online. So even the organizing teams and volunteers are doing everything remotely. And one of our biggest challenges was how do we keep the participants engaged? Aside from using Slack, we really created a good, social media plan in terms of how we communicate with them, and just really making things more personal. As soon as everyone was in the platform, we started just talking to them, encouraging them, and just sure that there's a lot of different touch points to make sure that they are part of it. And also, when they were forming teams, it was important that we really supported them and we really explained the mechanics to them. So it's really communication. It's constant communication and making sure that they also understand that they matter, and then the fact that they joined, whether as to participate and submit an idea or just to learn from the different workshops, that's already making a big difference.
Definitely, and I think that's just a good learning again for anyone out there, because sometimes it can be difficult going from what an in-person event to an online event. So I think you really did it, and again, like you also mentioned before, that is really what the community is also about. You can actually utilize the experience of each other. So in terms of the outcomes this year, what are kind of some of your expectations of the outcome of this year's Climathon?
Yes. So we have three design challenges this year. One is about reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The other one is transportation mobility, and the third one is on waste management. So we are expecting really, crazy, out of this world ideas that will really help innovate and be relevant also to Pasig City. The majority of our participants, they're from the age of around 18 to around 35. So they're very young, but our youngest is actually at 15. So, but we're expecting a diverse set of ideas to be out there, and these participants are very hungry and eager to really answer the design challenges that they've selected.
That's so great, and just to hear that people, even young people, are joining this movement. I think this is really so great to see that we can bring so many different people with different backgrounds together, but also through kind of different age groups. Just maybe a little bit of question about how to manage the Climathon. So how do you normally manage and prepare for your Climathon when you're planning it?
So I guess like it starts with a vision, what we want to see, what's our objective. So the mission of Climathon and aligning it to what the goals of the city are. So we really work closely with the local government unit, especially their city environmental office. So we make sure that everything is aligned and we plan it out. So I really have a good team. So we have a good co-organizer, future proof, and I have a team of volunteers who are really great at what they do in terms of helping planning things. So it's really starting with the vision and aligning it with the mission of Climathon and also the city, and then interlocking it together.
Definitely, and we even seen that here at the Global Climathon, where one of your volunteers, Anne, is now helping us with the kind of a redesign on the website. So it's just to say that there is really passionate people out there who wants to do something about climate challenges. I see that we actually have a question from the chat, Carla. So if you're up for that, I'm just going to read it out to you, so you can reply to it. So there is one question: how did you manage to get support from others to make your Climathon happen? And here we've specifically thinking about sponsors.
Yeah. I think the first thing is that I really talked to the people, especially for the first Climathon we did. We spoke to and really presented to all the partners and sponsors and really casted the vision. It wasn't immediately asking for, money, any kind of partnership. It was telling them what we were trying to do and how they can help us, and together what we can do. So it's the same thing. So even with my co-organizer and even our volunteers, we cast that same vision and mission that we're here not to just have another event or not just to earn from it. We're not. It's really about getting the public and private sectors together and understanding what the problem is, setting aside our differences, and moving things forward to take climate action. So that's exactly what I tell our partners and sponsors. So it's not about like how much you can give us. It's what we can do together.
I think that's a very good point, and it's also something we hear from a lot of the organizers, how also making it really clear to the sponsor, I think, what you want to achieve, and then creating a stronger partnership. So it's not just for, like you said, for the event, but we're actually thinking long term here, because we have to do that. So
because you build that relationship.
Exactly.
And we've had partners and sponsors who've committed, to just continue and support and partner with us, for the next couple of years.
Definitely, and I think that's the key to really succeed through this. I have another question here for you, Carla. So if you're up for it,
yes,
I'll read it out again. So you mentioned that some of the solutions this year might be implemented in the city. How did you convince the municipality to go for this? And I think this is actually a really great question, because it also comes back to the city involvement in the Climathon. That's so important, because we are talking about city challenges here.
Okay. So first is the winning teams there's going to be one winning team for every design challenge. And for all those winning teams, they will get to implement a pilot program in one of the communities in the city. And how did we get, the buy-in of the city? It's from the first day when we pitched the idea, from the city mayor's office to the head of the city environmental office. And they're actually like, it's us helping them. We didn't ask money from the government. We said that we will work on getting the funding to implement the pilot program, but we just need you to help us, see these ideas, come to reality. And we're fortunate enough that the leaders of the local government that we spoke with are more excited than the implementation than the entire ideathon phase, because they really believe in the people's participation. They really believe in people working together, or citizens and the government and the private sectors. So having difficulty with getting to implement a pilot program, you can start with maybe like a small community, and then you just sort of talk to key leaders in the city, or your local municipality to allow you in a controlled environment to implement a small scale pilot program. So I think, and you have to also show them how is it going to benefit them as a city, and what is the impact in the community.
I think that's a very good point. And I also know that the city of Pasig really, from the first time you presented Climathon to them, really seen it as a way to involve citizens in some of the climate action projects that they want to do in the city.
Yes. Yeah, so
So
now since 2019, Climathon is now part of their climate initiatives, to address climate change.
that's great. I think we have another. This is actually more of a request rather than a question.
Okay.
And it's from one of our viewers who said that waste management is also a problem, an issue in the city where they were born, and they wonder if you could mention some of the ideas that have come up at Climathon. So I think it's maybe both about like in the past, if there's been some great
Yeah.
examples, and also I think. And you mentioned it several times. This is also where the community comes in. Like we can actually share
Yeah.
these ideas with more people
Yeah.
afterwards, so we can inspire each other. But
Yes. I guess I can mention 2019 and 2020. So for 2019, we had two teams who won under waste management, and they did about hard plastic upcycling. They built these machines to repurpose hard plastics, and they also helped single parent mothers and also persons with disabilities to operate the machines, and then they can sell items that they make. So it can be coasters, it can be little pots, plates. So they've done their pilot already, so they're on their way to scaling it. The other one is so that was Kloop. The other one is Sarah Recycling. It's about waste management segregation. So these are like putting different waste segregation bins in high foot traffic areas, and then they're able to collect it. And they also have programs wherein when citizens give in, let's say, a kilo of plastic waste or any kind of waste, and as long as it's all cleaned, and then they get like a kilo of rice or a certain number of milk, for their children. So something like that. And then last year it was food security. So, but this year, stay tuned in our Climathon Pasig page. You'll be seeing the different ideas for waste management this year.
definitely, and I think it's just so great to see that these are actually citizen-led projects that the citizen who are experiencing or seeing these issues are coming up with.
Yes,
Yeah. So it's
that's
just
right.
great that they're really pushing for this. I think it's so great to see, and this is definitely why we're putting the Climathon out there and collaborating
Yeah.
with strong organizations like yourself.
Yeah.
I see there was one last question. I think it's more actually targeted at me, but it was how often do you host Climathon? So maybe you can answer from your side, because I know it is definitely about like planning and really
Yes.
making sure that you start in like months before, right?
Yeah. We host Climathon. This is our third year to host Climathon, but it's like one of the biggest things that I personally really focus on. So we start planning, like I'm already thinking for 2022 really. So we really start gathering and planning, and even having quick meetings with my co-organizer, even the first quarter of the year, like around January, February. So we
So
start early.
exactly, that's really, really early. And again, I think just to that question as well, Climathons take place throughout the year. So you can organize whenever you feel like, but we as Climate Kick are always gonna schedule one week where we put extra focus on the Climathons, and it's normally in late October, just before the COP. So most Climathons, most organizers only host one. I think I've seen a few examples where some have hosted one in the spring and then in fall or winter again.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of work, and I think you also need to think about what you want the outcome to be. So
Yes.
Carla, I don't know. Do you have anything you just want to share with the viewers in terms of your experience from Climathon, or maybe what's coming up at
Yeah.
Climathon Pasig?
Yeah. I guess so there may be like three things. One is make sure that if we all are aware of what's happening to the planet and that there is a climate emergency. And it's good that we watch, these videos or we read stuff, but I do encourage you to be involved in a community, such as Climathon. Be involved, you can volunteer, you can learn, and you can take in, they have different pillars that you can, help with or be involved with. Second is for Climathon Pasig. This year, though it's still challenging, we're very excited. There'll be more uh, workshops throughout the week, and we'll be showcasing the different ideas from the 10 teams that have fully registered. And so, if you want to know more about Climathon Pasig, you can follow us on our Facebook page, Climathon Pasig, and also our YouTube channel. If you have also questions, we're more than happy to share things. And third is, I just want to congratulate Climathon and EIT Climate Kick, for this week of action and for allowing us to be part of this today.
Thank you, Carla. You're definitely a big part of this. So Climathon wouldn't exist without people like you. And just like you said, I think you can follow Climathon Pasig on YouTube. You have a YouTube channel, Climathon Pasig. You have a Facebook channel, right? So
and Instagram.
And Instagram as well. So whatever social media you're on, you can definitely see the upcoming events, sessions that are going to happen, and also the teams and what they come up with. So Carla, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for sharing all your wisdom and also showing, I think, the viewers here what it takes to become an organizer and what you need to think about. I know you're also very active in our Slack community, so people can actually go in and maybe talk to you there. If maybe this week you're going to be busy, but afterwards. So thank you so much for joining us, and good luck with the rest of your Climathon.
All right, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, Carla. So, as you just heard from Carla, she's organizing her Climathon online, and I don't think I need to mention, but last year we a lot of, or most Climathons were very affected by COVID and the COVID restrictions, which meant that a lot of them have to pivot from Climathon in person to an online version. And sometimes that's easier said than done. It does really require a lot on the organizer side, as you just heard, but sometimes it's also really difficult to be a participant. So actually, you're used to being in a room somewhere at a venue where you can actually speak to people, you can see them, you can interact with them. But now you're in an online environment, so there's totally different ways of interacting and working with your team. So now we've actually talked to one of the teams, one of the winning teams of one of the Climathons last year. This is Climathon Ljubljana. And we talked to the team called Team Green Penguin. They came up with a great idea of how they could get school kids to compete for CO2 reductions by measuring it in penguins. I love that idea. It's a great idea, and it's a great way of really showing even young people like what does it mean when we talk about climate change. And we talked to the team about their experience from being part of maybe not the normal Climathon and an online Climathon, and also what it means to be part of such a big movement the Climathon is. So we have just a short video for you here with the Team Green Penguin.
My name is Moica Marchisetti. I'm Head of Sustainability and Regulatory Affairs at Iskra Imecom. Climathon last year, it was a special year, so actually really everything was online. Our experience was really great. It's a hackathon. We've done a lot of hackathons, so we knew what to expect from the perspective of the organized template of the hackathon. it, we really appreciated that it was happening in parallel also in other cities. That gave us a certain extra motivation, let's say, and an extra push. And was really also interesting to see what the other teams, because I think we had about 10 or even more teams, 15 teams participating. So we've also learned a lot from all the other members. Overall, it was a really great experience, also from the perspective of competences for the team, building the competences, building the team together, bringing some added value to the company, bringing an ability to work on some, important issues of the world. And the clock is ticking, the time is running out. We are now literally in a decade where we will make it or we will break it. So it's really time for action. We think too much and we act not enough. Okay, so we should stop thinking and start acting, using the technology that we have available, and stop doubting in ourselves whether or not we can make a difference, because actually really every individual can make a difference. And this is also what we're going to pitch, I think, end of October. Green Penguin is pitching at the Energy Talk within the European Sustainable Energy Week. And we're also actually having a tour and marching around different conferences promoting the idea.
So there you have it. This was one of the Climathon winners last year. They actually also took part in the Climathon Awards with their great idea. And I think, again, like they mentioned, just this added value that they have from being part of a big movement like the Climathon, I think is really something to consider. And it's something we see in a lot of Climathons, and which is very exciting for teams that are participating in the Climathon. So talking about teams, I think, again, this year we have 195 cities participating. There's going to be a lot of teams coming out of these Climathons. As I mentioned before, the Climathon does take place throughout the year, so cities can actually decide when to organize. And when I say cities, these are, like you met before, Carla, she's a local organizer. She does not represent the city, but she has a strong link to the city. But this also means that out of these 195 Climathons, some of them have already taken place. And we actually do have some winning teams from this year as well. And one of the winning teams that we're going to introduce is from Climathon Dubai. And they actually very recently won the Climathon in Dubai with a very interesting solution for, or very interesting idea for agribusiness. And the really interesting thing here is that the team didn't know each other before joining the Climathon. They actually met during the Climathon and found out that with their different backgrounds, so they're from different countries, and different knowledge that they had, also with kind of different backgrounds in terms of professional as well, that they could actually complement each other and come together and really come up with a great idea for some of Dubai's challenges. And joining us from Team Dubai cohort is Abby. Abby, how are you feeling?
Hi, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me here. How are you?
Thank you for being here, Abby. And I know you are you have a master's degree in petroleum engineering. So how did you get involved with climate action?
I know it sounds surprising, right? So the thing is, as a researcher in the energy sector, one of the things I am deeply passionate about and we consistently work towards is actually sustainability and a low carbon future, but at the same time not negatively influencing the economic growth. And we've seen that it is the need of the hour. And being in academia and also in the industry, believe that we have the capability to to do better. And the current implementations around us, irrespective of our domains, we can all optimize it for a better future, and hence climate action.
That's great. It's just great to hear that there are people like you, and you also have some of the background knowledge of maybe what needs to change. So I think it's just great to see that you're also taking part in this. And like I mentioned before, your team actually met during the Climathon. So could you describe, like, how did you find each other? What was the reason why you thought you were a good fit? Because it seemed like you were by when ending up winning the Climathon in Dubai.
So the participation in Climathon was an extraordinary experience for all of us, especially with respect to the pandemic restrictions. So I've only met one of my co-members in person, even up until now. And what made it unique was the collaborative space that we were given. So the insightful sessions from the speakers definitely helped. But each of us, with our diverse backgrounds and skill set, we were able to contribute. So there were students who were majoring in environmental science. There were researchers in energy industry. There were climate activists, and there were people in management. So what we did was, when the problem statement was given to us, we tried to make it more relevant and personal to all of us, and then we tried to address it in a way that's accessible and relevant to all. And like, from students to people in the industry, there was a lot of creative ideas flowing through, and the brainstorming session was when we really understood that we gel together as a team, and how we can easily contribute irrespective of the regions we are from, because there's a lot of overlap between the problems, but when it comes to implementation, that's where we need to tailor it. And I understand the challenges of an online platform, but at the same time, it also allowed us to delegate our work better, make sure that everybody that's involved gets their particular voice being said, and then and effectively working while within the strict deadlines.
And how was it to be part of such an environment where, like you said, the good ideas were just flowing, and then you ended up becoming a team? Like, how was it for you to be part of, or is this your first time, I should ask, being part of the Climathon?
Yes, this is the first time. I think for all of us as a team, this was the first time we were taking part in Climathon. The biggest challenge I believe that we had was keeping the ideas grounded. In the sense that, as you mentioned, and as we mentioned earlier, there was a lot of ideas flowing around. So we wanted to implement this and that. But at the same time, we had good mentors and the session speakers who introduce it to the complexities of real world implementation. So while we had crazy ideas, where we also had to ground it and to make it practical, feasible, and deployable. So that's when we realized, oh, maybe this wouldn't work because of so and so reasons, or maybe this would work in such an area, but not necessarily here. What we wanted to look was something that is practical on a smaller scale, go for a pilot, and then implement it on a larger scale after identifying the challenges. So we wanted to be as realistic as possible while making sense to, let's say, from a financial aspect as well. So it benefits everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a really good starting point. How did you become aware of the Climathon? Now you said it was your first time participating, so maybe there are others out there listening in or viewing this live stream. Like, how did you become aware of the Climathon?
So as someone who works in R&D, I love staying curious and being always able to learn something. So I keep an eye out for all the competitions that's out there. And I've always been motivated by creative projects, teamwork, and essentially, I believe we all can contribute to this pool of knowledge on the basis of which a better future can be designed. So, like, opportunities such as these just prove that we can all make a difference, irrespective of where we are from. So my first introduction to the Climathon was based on the local organizers here and the Ministry of Energy, and they were pretty vocal about it, and it seemed very exciting. It's rare that you get an opportunity to present an idea and then potentially implement in reality, and this led me to Climathon.
And doing this Climathon, so I already mentioned that your idea was focusing on agribusiness, but doing the
Yeah.
Climathon, what was the more specific challenge that you were working on?
So the primary challenge that was given to us was how can we use digitalization to fix labeling misconception while making it efficient, effective, and accurate while retaining its market quality. So in short, the solution was to provide accurate information relevant to everyone. So key term on everyone when it comes to labeling. And it sounds I mean, easy and simple, but when you really start tackling into it, you'll really understand. And I'm excited to share the solution as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let us know. Let us know what was the idea that you came up with, and maybe also just a little bit about the process of how you got there from when you started. You first heard the challenge, and then you came up with this idea, and obviously you ended up winning the Climathon there.
Thank you. That's definitely. So when we began our research, we wanted to make it as realistic as possible, and then, like I said, a bit personal on to everyone. So what we did was we also checked previous surveys conducted in different regions. We did our own survey, and when it comes to labeling, it wasn't surprising to notice that around 62% of people or users didn't even completely read any labels. And I know that I rarely did as well. In fact, I just checked the date of expiry, and that was it for me. And one interesting thing that we found based on our surveys was when it comes to people with disabilities, they have severe challenges when it comes to interpreting them. And in the modern world that we live in, a lot of everything is being digitalized. So accessibility has been an issue that needs to be addressed as well. So this was the first problem statement, as in how do we address this while being compliant with ISO and EU regulations, which are like the widely accepted standards. So what we proposed was to keep it as simplistic as possible. So we proposed like a color graded system, like something as similar as this. I apologize. So it means something very simple. Green means good and red means not that great. And you also have a QR code which would give you an in-depth report of your particular produce. And what we also did was we did a very rough prototype in our app, and uh, we also implemented Braille in it, so that we wanted to be it this to be as accessible as possible. So once a user scans a QR code, it will lead you to an app that is not only accessibility friendly but also provide a detailed description of sustainability metrics. And in short, what we wanted to do was, even if you didn't have the time to look at all your labeling fact, if you just look at it, we just wanted you to understand what you can from the key components. So the key components also included allergens, you how nutritious it was, how sustainable it was, and the CO2 the carbon footprint the product actually gives out. And we realized that based on a survey, a lot of people were interested in it, but they didn't know how to exactly look for it. And the next challenge was with respect to accurate data. So how do we get quality data? So for this, what we proposed was a digitalized, centralized ledger, coupled with IoT devices for data capture at key relevant points. So what this allows us to do is it makes it transparent, immutable, and available for all stakeholders. And by that, I mean the consumers, the producers, the retailers, and so on. And so they can review it. And the way we are trying to make it, let's say the let's say we are trying to address with respect to the quality of data is we proposed an introduction of a digital token with a digital value for incentives for the producers to be more sustainable. So let me take a hypothetical example. If I buy an apple, let's say a bad apple from a supermarket today, I wouldn't be exactly able to tell if the farmer was at fault or if it's a retailer who improperly stored it. So with the right data that we capture, very let's say we can introduce accountability and consumer driven demand for transparent and sustainable choices, and that's relevant to everyone. And we had given a few case studies which makes it simple. Another simplistic way to think about this would be, think of a food delivery platform with a digital value for your reviews. So everybody is plays a role in it, including the retailers. And with the right support, we hope to introduce you to the future of digitalized labeling that is green, simplistic, accurate, and accessible. And by accessible, I mean accessible by all, including people with disabilities, while making the world more sustainable.
That sounds amazing. It sounds like you really went through a lot in just a short time in the Climathon. I have one more question. I just want to mention also to people out there, the viewers, if you have any questions for Abby, then please put them in the chat so we can pick up on them in here. I think it's a really interesting idea that you came up with. But how did you manage to do all that in just such a short time, Abby?
So that's an excellent question. Before I answer that, I've also shared a link on the chat for people to just play around with the rough prototype that we had. The thing, so for us to come up with a solution, as we said, we looked at each of the regions that our team members were in, and we tried to identify challenges that was happening, especially with respect to, let's say, misinterpretation in labeling, food adulteration, and so on. And as the problem statement mentioned, we wanted to use existing digitalization. So we're not starting something from scratch. And we looked at potential areas or domains where we can leverage their technology and then see what is something that's unique, but at the same time, it's practical, relevant, and it kind of makes sense even from a business perspective as well. So we started with a very simplistic case study that we thought, okay, idealistically, if we had, let's say, a farm, what would be the things that we would want? And then from there, we, let's say, cut down on the things that didn't make sense or that's not viable. And then we led into this. So as you mentioned, we had limited time, but we had an excellent team doing countless research. So we did surveys, we looked at papers, implementations, research publications, and fortunately, we ended up with something that's exciting for everyone.
That sounds really interesting and like also a really good process. And I think maybe just a follow-up question. Does it also speak to when you're at this Climathon, how, because maybe not all people are able to find the same people with the skills that they just need, like it seems like you almost did. But how do you find these people when you're at the Climathon? Like, how do you make sure that you partner up with the right people that can maybe complement you?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Even for us, the team was decided at random, so it was not specific, as in we were not allowed to choose our team members, and that is one of the biggest challenges that I've seen in some teams, and unfortunately, in our team, it gelled extremely well. But at the same time, I'd like to mention, based on the interactions that we had so far, everybody has their particular strengths and weaknesses, and it's up to us to identify what they can contribute to. So, for example, the students that were involved, they were good at writing and conducting research, and the people that were in the industry were the ones who were making, oh, this may not work financially, or oh, this has this issue because in my region so and so things have happened. So my advice would be to identify your strength and weaknesses, be transparent about it when you're as a team, and then work together. So the weaknesses, you know um, you can easily overcome it with the strengths of the other members in your team. And I think that has um, gone a great way in our team as well. So we did have obviously a lot of issues as well, but at the same time, effectively, we were able to effectively address them at the earliest, because we knew, oh, so this person is good at that, and then we were just assisting them in the best way that's possible, and vice versa.
So Abdi, I've got one question from the chat here, and again to viewers out there, if you have any questions, then please let us know while Abby is here. But Abby, there is a question from one of the viewers, like, who is part of your team? So we just introduced you now, like you have a background in as a master of petroleum engineering. But who else is part of your team, and maybe also where are they from? Because I know you have different cultural backgrounds.
Yes, so we were a team of five. So then we also had two students, Miss Sarah and Miss Latifa, who were students, environmental science students in Zayed University, Abu Dhabi. We had Mr. Urdu from Ghana. He is a climate change activist, and he's a speaker in Ghana. And then and then we had Mr. Ibrahim from Lebanon. And the key thing that we want to mention was, during this particular climathon, there was active involvement from Lebanon, and they had significant challenges. It was during the time where they had limited access to electricity, internet, and so on. So uh, I really want to give my special shout out to them, because for the opportunity, the environment that they're in, they did an amazing job, and they all of them brought something that's unique to the table. So the challenges that they had, it's not exactly, you don't easily see it all over the world. So we could better prepare, and the expertise that they had when it comes to implementation challenges in countries such as Lebanon, that also helped us to keep our idea grounded. So we had students, we had, let's say, climate change activists and speakers, and we had people just working in the industry. And myself, I'm working in R&D for carbon industry.
That sounds like a great team, and again also with your different backgrounds and knowledges, you also understand. I feel like the different like the differences there might be, even though we have similar challenges, but you do understand that there could be regional differences or differences in cities when talking about this.
Definitely. So that was the first issue that we had to make sure that, let's say, some of the ideas that we had didn't make sense to the people in the other regions. And then when we start explaining, and when we had let's say, an open team, that's when we realized, okay, it makes sense. Maybe it'll work here, but it won't work there, and so and so. So that really helped us, and I think that's key to the success for any particular team or idea or implementation, as you know.
And I just want to check if there are more questions in the chat. There is not, so I actually have one. There's one more. One last question.
Sure.
So we have one last question in the chat. While we're pulling that question up, then Abby, could I just ask you, so obviously now we've talked also about the idea that you came up with, but did you have any other learnings during the Climathon? Any other things that you felt like that before Climathon you didn't know, or that obviously you met your team, but any other learnings, outcomes?
So, as somebody in R&D, I can tell you that the sessions by the speakers that was there in Climathon really helped us broaden our perspectives in ways that I thought wasn't possible. So there were non-technical sessions, technical sessions. There were people um, who were talking about fundraising. It was the perfect mix and match, and it not only broadened our perspectives, it really helped us understand the complexity involved for real life implementation. And while I do understand an online platform makes it a bit difficult to engage for everyone, the advantage is that um, people from all around the world, the experts basically, were like right in front of us, and we could ask them the questions and we could reach out to them. And that was something that's unique that I've not seen for a while. And the Climathon also created their own particular platform, so we could easily ask questions, and these session experts would come and say that, oh, maybe this doesn't make sense, and maybe this is the maybe this. Why don't you think about it this way? And a lot of these sessions also helped us to fundamentally rethink our problem challenge rather than just solving for a problem. It also allowed us to go back to our basics or fundamentals and then start building block by block from there.
That's great to hear. We actually have two more questions, so I just
Sure.
found them for you, Abby, and maybe we can do it as one question. So the first one is, how would you like your fellow citizens to participate in your idea? And I think we already shared the link in the chat, so people can go and check it out. And also, how do you think your idea will progress? So maybe you can answer those two questions.
Those two are great questions. So I'm going to combine and answer it. So the thing that we wanted to do, and as Carla put it, what we want to do was we really want to see the feasibility of let's say constrained case study or a pilot study, and then see how effective it is, identify the potential challenges, and then go for global implementation. So we are not saying that, hey, this is an idea out there and we want to implement it. It might work everywhere. So from what we've understood, there needs to be tailored strategies for the region, and we've identified. So we were part of the Dubai cohort. So and we've already started talking to people and entities and organizations and ministries where we can identify a very small niche in agriculture, particularly food, and then start from there. So it is work in progress. So far, we've got positive feedback with respect to the implementation on the practicality and the feasibility of it. And this is something that we hope to, let's say, potentially start implementing by next year on a very simplistic constraint case study, so that we can understand how effective it is, how would it work, and what would be the potential challenges. So locally, we would be starting, let's say, we'd be concentrating on, let's say, food, particularly in our early phases as a proof of concept, and then expand it from there. And that would be done particularly in the UAE. And it was also supported by the ministry and a lot of other organizations involved locally. So I think that's the first step to go.
Thank you, Abby, and thank you so much for joining us and letting us know a bit more about your winning idea. Just, is there anywhere where people can follow you and kind of follow your progress, your idea?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the opportunity. Let me begin with that. So, quick shout out to the Climathon team, the Idea and Co team, everyone. It's been a phenomenal experience for all of us. I'm available on LinkedIn, so you can easily add me. You can just search my name, and fortunately or unfortunately, I'm the only one with my name, so you can easily find me there. So feel free to reach out, and however I can assist, I'll be glad to assist. And I hope to keep sharing the updates with respect to. The Climathon challenge in the months to come or years to come with everybody involved. And if there's anything that I can do to help, I'll be here. I'm glad to assist.
Great. Thank you so much, Abby, and thank you for joining us. And good luck.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. Good luck to you. And my request is we all can make the world a better place, irrespective of where we are from. So it's like maybe it's simpler steps, and we can do better. So we have the capability to do better. So why not? Let's just start somewhere.
Definitely. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you so much.
And with that, I think really great call to actually make the world a better place. We actually reached the end of the Climathon. I think I just want to say that what you just saw, both the interview with Carla, the video from the team Green Penguin in Ljubljana, and now this interview with Abby, it's just a way of showing you some of the people that are actually doing something about climate change out there. And that is exactly why we put Climathon together. So I think that's also really what's motivating to me. So I really hope, like I said before, that more of you will join us, will follow in their footsteps and be the change locally in your city as a citizen. I just want to remind you, as we said before, at 12 p.m. CET, Central European Standard Time, we have Christian's session, the Climb Accelerator, coming up. It's on a different YouTube page called Climb Accelerator and Climb Innovators. So please jump over to that YouTube channel at 12, and that's Central European Standard Time. And we'll be back on this channel tomorrow with Climathon, where we will talk to one of the long-standing organizers from Austria, and we'll also hear about a really interesting idea from Climathon in Riga, one of the winners of Climathon in Riga that actually took place also just a few weeks ago. So we really hope you'll join us. And please do remember to share with us if you have, like I said before, any mobility projects, any challenges that you think your city or region should do something about that's mobility related. Share with us on hashtag destination 1.5, and point is spelled out. So destination 1.5, and I know we're putting it in the chat as well, so you can find it there so you know you're using the right hashtag. And also follow the Climathon accounts. So you're on the YouTube channel now, but also follow the Climathon accounts. And then we'll see you tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. Thank you.